Welcome to Our View, the podcast, where we're changing the conversation about disability one story at a time. Here at Our View, we're all about education, awareness, and shifting perspectives. With each episode, we dive into honest, meaningful conversations with individuals from across the disabled community, amplifying voices, sharing lived experiences, and challenging the way society sees disability. Because disability isn't a limitation, it's a part of the human experience. So pull up a seat and join us as we broaden the view and bring real, powerful stories into focus. This is Our View. I would like to welcome everyone back to a new episode of Our View, the podcast where we aim to educate, raise awareness, and change the tone of conversation about disabilities. Today, my guest is Jake, who is joining us from ZOOZ Fitness. So, Jake, thank you so much for joining us for this episode today.
It's an absolute pleasure, Art. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so you and I, we met a few weeks ago through our mutual friend Allison. So shout out to Allison for connecting us and making this podcast episode happen. And to get started, can you share with us a little bit about your background, your story? Tell us who you are, what you do for a living, and anything else that you would like our listeners to know about you.
Absolutely. So I could talk for hours about this, but I will try to condense as much as possible. My name is Jake, born and raised in Los Angeles. I currently live in LA with my wife and two kids. Really, my life consists of ZOOZ Fitness and family time now. I started ZOOZ almost 11 or 12 years ago. I always get the exact date wrong, but about 11 or 12 years ago, with a burning desire to want to give back to the disability community and create awareness around movement and fitness. I grew up doing a martial art called judo and sports, and I was very active as a kid. So movement has always been a big part of my life. I also grew up in a lot of youth groups and informal education groups, and just really getting out in the community, meeting people. So I was really taught at a young age to give back and share, energy and experiences and knowledge with other people. So it really was just a like perfect combination when I had the idea of starting zoos. It was, we can get into this also, just the journey of how zoos started. It was not just like an overnight, idea that I had. It occurred over many, many months. But it was just burning desire to want to give back. And thankfully, I'm in a place now where I get to run and operate ZOOZ Fitness and have incredible employees and a team of coaches and an incredible team of athletes and families that I get to be a part of this every day.
Wonderful. That is really great, and I'm so excited to share with everyone a little bit more about ZOOZ Fitness and what you do there. So, can you talk about what inspired you? I know you said you've had that desire to give back, and can you just talk a little bit more about what inspired you to create ZOOZ Fitness?
Absolutely. So it started, like I said, it started when I was a kid, just wanting to give back and learn from other people and experience new things. I went to school, University of Arizona, to study psychology and marketing. I knew pretty quickly I didn't want to go into clinical psychology. And marketing was just something really cool and understanding how minds worked and sales and how do I interact with people. But really the idea came, I worked in a number of different industries and companies, but really all working with folks with disabilities in some capacity. I had a lot of jobs growing up in again, various places, shipping departments, marketing departments, camp settings. And when I finished school, I had this desire to want to work with folks with disabilities. I had a pretty transformative summer experience at a camp called Camp Rama. It's where I met my now wife. And it's where I realized that I need to be doing something with people with disabilities in some capacity. I don't have any direct connection, a family member, a sibling, a friend. It just was just a really altruistic desire to want to give back and share my love of, I didn't know at the time movement and fitness, but just I love meeting people. I love experiencing new things. I love sharing ideas. So it was really this summer camp experience that was like my light bulb moment where, oh, I could be doing this as a profession. I can really help people and make a real impact. I didn't know it would look like fitness at the time, but fast forward a couple years after that, I worked in nonprofit, excuse me, for-profit respite. I worked with hundreds of families, all with who have kids with disabilities, and I just the one through line through all of that was these individuals were not moving their bodies. They were not active. Not only were they not moving, there was no interest or excitement around exercise. And that, excitement and exercise don't always go together, unless you're in a wild headspace like coaches. Like, we love exercise and we love to challenge ourselves. But for a lot of people, it's not fun. It's not enjoyable. Or I don't know what to do. I'm lost. My body hurts when I do it. I had a bad experience. So when I went through all these years of working with individuals, I would always take them to work out with me. I was teaching judo at the time, so I'd take individuals with me to judo class. And I just saw really incredible results. Behaviors were reduced. They were thinking more clearly. Our athletes were losing weight. They were feeling better. Parents were saying, "Oh my God, what are you doing with them? This is incredible. I see a different person." So it was just like a series of events and a series of things that happened when I was doing what I loved. So that was really just the inception. Of ZOOZ. It started really organically. I was working at a nonprofit. I would change into gym clothes and go start training at the park after. So it really was just this organic journey that I took into what is disability and fitness, where is the intersection, what does that look like, what does it not look like, and really working with the individuals that I had the pleasure of training. Hey, what works, what doesn't work? Help me help you.
Yeah, I when you were just talking now and talking about people with disabilities and movement, I had like a flashback almost to my early years where for me as a person with a disability, movement meant physical movement and things like that meant physical therapy, which was not always a pleasant experience for me. So,
Right, right.
so I thought about that and I'm like, wow, maybe that's where it's the disconnect and the movement not being fun. Maybe that's for me, that's where I think it might have come from, with having physical therapy being a bit painful at times, but you had to do it. But that was like my extent of movement, growing
Yeah.
up as a child. So yeah, to
You know,
bring fun to it in a great way like you have is really cool to hear.
you bring up a really interesting point, Art, that I hear a lot. Is ZOOZ Fitness physical therapy? I mean, that is a line that we hear a lot because I think a lot of folks with disabilities think of and associate that with physical therapy or OT and long hours, and I was forced to do it, and it was sometimes painful. We hear that time and time again, and that's the paradigm that we're trying to shift in people's minds, is this idea that yes, exercise can be fun, but it's got to be done in the right way, and we can use a lot of movements that you would do in PT or OT, but in a really fun setting. And I think that's what draws a lot of people to what we do, is that it looks and feels like a typical gym. And the idea of that is to create the independence with our athletes, that you work out at ZOOZ Fitness. I feel comfortable here. It's a safe environment, but it's the same equipment. I can go, if I'm traveling, I can go anywhere I want to go, and it looks and feels the same.
Right, exactly. And like you said, you're making it fun and making it a different experience. So that is really awesome. Can you share with us what types of classes or trainings that you offer there at ZOOZ Fitness?
Yes, so we offer a few different class options because we want to make sure that there's something for everyone. We offer boxing, circuit training, yoga, and Zumba. And a lot of those classes, and what a lot of parents say is like, my kid's not going to do that. But our classes are really designed to meet everybody's needs. In a given class, a boxing class, you'll see all types of individuals, all different levels of fitness. And that's kind of what the unique thing about what we do. But again, those offerings are traditional classes that you'd find anywhere else. So, and we're always looking for new class ideas. We're hopefully going to be starting a Pilates class soon, and dance class. So we always love pushing the boundaries of what it is to do fitness, but in the group setting is such a unique opportunity where not only I get to train, but I also get to interact with other people who are going through something really similar.
That's awesome. I like the range of classes that you have, and you're always, like you said, you're looking to add more more classes to what you already have. So that's really awesome. We talked about this a little bit already, but why do you feel it is important for fitness facilities like zoos to exist?
So part of me sometimes says we shouldn't need to exist as a specialized gym facility. Individuals like yourself should be able to go anywhere. Individuals with disabilities should be able to access any space. That's not the reality, unfortunately. It's getting much better, I think, in the mainstream fitness world. But I think this idea of inclusion and really welcoming everybody, regardless of where they are in their fitness journey, I think, we have a lot of athletes that just don't fit into your typical gym model. They might not have a diagnosis or a disability per se, but it's I don't want to go to your main box gym or the local gym in my community because I feel X, Y, or Z. So really, I think zoos exist to be a space that welcomes everybody, that is non-judgmental, that things can be adjusted, the lights, the music, the people that are in the space. There are individualized spaces like private training rooms that we have here that really have bare walls and nothing to distract because the world is a lot. Most gyms there's a lot going on. We don't have mirrors in our gym. Something that's the first thing people notice. We don't have mirrors. Um, so there's a lot of intention behind what we do and how we design the space, how I thought it up from the very beginning. And a lot of that was with my athletes' help. I can't do this alone. I don't have a disability myself, but I have a lot of athletes, those early athletes that I trained in their families. Hey, what do I need to make this space for you, for your kids? How do I make this inclusive? And we try our best to incorporate that as much as possible. Even now, with class ideas, we talk to parents, we talk to athletes, we get feedback. Because listen, you can't do this alone. We're not meant to be alone in this world, I think, and with fitness especially, I think more gyms need to be open to exploring this idea of inclusion. I think not only like yes from a place of like let's be good people and have an open heart and welcome everyone, but from a financial standpoint, if that's your bottom line, it's an entire clientele that you're not servicing. Why? So for us, it's a no-brainer. I think it really adds to the energy. Anyone who walks into our space immediately feels, there's a sense of pride and this gym's impressive and it's oh my God, this is so cool. Like we want you to feel like that going into a gym. I don't want you to feel, oh, this sucks. Like I gotta go back to the gym. That's not a good feeling. So we want it to feel like home.
Yes, that is so important that it's, like, oh gosh, here we go again, and all
Right.
of those common sayings that we often hear from people. I
And
really appreciate.
our
Uh-huh.
real quick on that note, the again the thought process is like most people say, what's the best part of the gym when I'm leaving? Like
Yeah,
I don't want that to be a thing. My best part is when I get to actually walk into the gym, and it sucks that
right.
I have to leave. That's how much I have to
Yes.
change.
Yes. I was going to say, I really appreciated that that you involved the athletes and the families in the whole process of planning everything because, it's so important that people, places, they strive to be inclusive, but not really knowing what that means sometimes, and not including people with the actual disabilities or their family members in those conversations, to make sure that it is accessible and inclusive for as many people as possible. We know we're not going to get it 100% right for everybody all the time, but to be as inclusive to as many different groups of people as possible is so important, and it's important to include uh, those people with disabilities in those conversations when planning. So was glad to hear that you had said that, for sure. But it's, I've, like I said, I just met you a few weeks ago, and just reading up about everything and following you all on social media, seeing what you do is just um, really impressive, really great, and really excited that we were able to connect and have this conversation. So, just two more questions for you. The first one is, after being, starting this quite a few years ago, what is your vision for ZOOZ Fitness over the next 5 to 10 years?
One wonderful question. It's something I think about often, with planning and goal setting with my team and with myself. I said from the very beginning, our mission statement was to empower individuals with developmental disabilities to live more active lives. And our vision was to create a world with that exact same mission. We want, we want everyone, regardless of the city, the state, the country that you're in, to have access to fitness, whether or not that be in a gym or at the park. Our vision overarching is to make sure that everyone has access to it. But when we dial it back to the 3 to 5 years, we are in the process of franchising, which is something that we're really excited about. I think the community piece of what we do is really important, and bringing in other families, professionals who believe in what we're doing and who want to make an impact. It's just a broader group of people who understand. We're expanding our circle of and our network of people who understand what it means to be healthy and move our bodies, but also when you have a disability, there are things that we need to consider, and there are, with the design of the space and the people that we bring in. So the next 3 to 5 years will look like franchise, and hopefully that's off the ground, and we have a couple franchisees all over the country. And then I hope to personally own another location to open up to expand what we're doing. But really, the next 3 to 5 years is expansion. That's with social media, with partnerships, with getting on podcasts and sharing my story and our story of zoos. So the next 3 to 5 years are going to be very busy for us.
All sounds amazing. And the last question is, how can people find you on social media, your website? How can they contact you if they're looking, for possible franchise opportunities and other ways to connect with you all there?
So I think the easiest way is through our website, zoozfitness.com. If you type in Google, I think we're one of the first that pop up. We've been doing this for a long time, and thankfully we're one of the first two or three that pop up. But zoozfitness.com is easy. Our website, social media at ZOOZ Fitness. We have Instagram, we have a YouTube page, we have a blog. So we're sharing a lot of just impactful stories there. And I think, for us, getting our name out there is important, but it's the raising the awareness about disability and inclusion and fitness and inclusion and disability, where all those intersect, is what we're really trying to do. So yeah.
Jake, thank you so much for your time, for sharing the story about yourself and about how you created ZOOZ Fitness and the great work you're doing there, helping to get people with disabilities more active and moving, which is so important. And like we said, uh, it's a shame that a space like this has to exist because other places are not fully inclusive and accessible to those of us with disabilities. But creating a space like this is so important. And best of luck to you in everything that you're doing. And with the expansion, would love to have one here in New Jersey. So we'll be talking about that for sure. And again, it's been great getting to know you, and we'll definitely be in touch soon.
Absolutely, Arthur. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to share what we do. And look out, we'll be in a city near you very soon.
Yes. Yes, but Jake, you take care and have a great day.
Thanks, Arthur. Appreciate you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Our View, the podcast, where we amplify the voices and stories of those in the disabled community, one conversation at a time. If this story moved you, taught you something new, or sparked a different perspective, we'd love to hear from you. Write a review of the podcast on Apple Podcast, and be sure to subscribe so you don't miss future episodes. Follow us on all social media platforms at Our View for Life 25. At Our View, we believe that disability is not a limitation. It is a powerful part of the human experience. So until next time, keep listening, keep learning, and keep seeing the world through our view.